But yeah, you're out. Let's take a picture.
Very smart.
Guys, come and get your leaflets. Come and pick these up.
Okay, well, it's a real pleasure to be here today in London, in Cavendish Square, in the centre of London. We've got over 1,000 people. We're about to march to Trafalgar Square. This is the third big march we've had on the Taiji campaign in the last 12 months in Britain, and this is now the biggest campaign against the slaughter of dolphins in Japan anywhere in the world. Lots of people coming together, many young people here from working in PR, marketing, the arts, the media, and also show business as well. Lots of people who care passionately about protecting dolphins and really want to educate people to say, listen, we've got to stop killing these animals because of the exploitation of the marine park businesses around the world, like SeaWorld. Taiji Cove, over 2,000 dolphins a year are killed in the most disgusting circumstances. The value of a dead dolphin is around $400 when it's sold into the food chain. But actually the value of a live dolphin, which is captive and then put into a marine park prison, is around $200,000. So it's really the greed, the capitalist, cruel greed of the marine park business that's feeding the slaughter of these dolphins. The other thing that might surprise people is there's no proper protection for dolphins anywhere in the world. Unlike whales, which are part of the International Whaling Commission, they're not regulated, they're not controlled. There's no international treaties to protect them. Tens of thousands are killed around the world, in Taiji and other parts of Japan, in the Solomon Islands, in the Faroe Islands. We have a wonderful connection with dolphins. They inspire us, but at the same time we're terribly cruel to them. We exploit them, we kill them. We want to see better global protection. One of the things we're asking today is that Prince William, who's an advocate for protecting Africa's elephants and rhinos, something that I feel very passionately about, needs to talk out about protecting dolphins as well. He's going to make a state visit shortly to Japan. We have a petition that's growing very quickly now to say when you go, you should raise with the Japanese government the need to stop the exploitation and killing of these marine mammals. We think it'll get huge support for that, and it will also bring the UK government's position into line with its position on whaling. We're very against Japan whaling. We should be very against Japan killing dolphins in this way as well.
Taiji, set them free!
Taiji, let them be! Taiji, let them be! Stop killing dolphins!
Stop the dolphin slaughter!
Taiji, set them free!
Taiji, set them free!
Well, thank you everyone! Thank you everyone for coming today! This is a wonderful show of care and compassion for wildlife in Britain and around the world.
Yay! Most mornings since the start of 2015, I have switched on my phone and laptop to be greeted in my social feeds by the most unimaginable, heartbreaking pictures, video streams and notifications from Rick O'Barry's Dolphin Project and the Cove Guardians. Images depicting the harrowing dolphin drives in Taiji, which since the festive break, I have to say, have given little respite to these intelligent cetaceans swimming innocently past by the waters of this Japanese town. Images that I am sure would test the patience and understanding of a saint. But I refuse to vent any hatred toward the fishermen and trainers, no matter how hard that is, because I will not waste my energy or debilitate myself through their inhumanity.
So I'm not going to talk about behaviour, and I'm not going to talk about dolphins in tanks, and I'm not really going to talk about Taiji, because Dominic, when he speaks, is going to tell you about the campaign and what you can do and what we're calling on others to do to bring this terrible travesty to a close. I want to start, and I see round in front of me signs that say, Je suis Corky, Je suis Dolphin. And I think one thing we have to remember is that here we are in Trafalgar Square, and we're having a rally, and we're saying what we think. And there are places in the world where that doesn't happen. So just for a moment, I'd like us to be silent and be Je suis Charlie. Be thankful that we can speak out without fear or favor. And now I also want you just to be silent for a moment, not that you're making much noise, but I want you to raise your placards, every single one of them, and this is in silent tribute to all the dolphins that have been destroyed and tortured and murdered in Taiji. This is our moment of respect for them. Thank you very much. So, what am I going to talk for 5 minutes about? I'm going to talk about David and Goliath, of how good people working together can change the world. So, as Dominic very kindly said, 30 years ago, with my mum and dad, Virginia and Bill, I started Born Free. And how hopeful and enthusiastic and how terribly naive we were. We believed then that the absurdity of locking animals away in zoos and circuses would end within a few years. After all, who could seriously think that we were going to address the crisis of wildlife and biodiversity across the world by breeding a few hundred species in captivity, releasing a handful back to the wild, and claim that locking them up was educational? It was so wrong then, and it is so wrong now, and we thought it would be over in a few years. Well, we were right, but we were also wrong. But there is a story of hope, and that hope is founded on what happened here in the UK to dolphins in captivity. There are none. There's none. It's amazing, not a single dolphin area. And I do remember, I'll tell you this bit in a second. I, together with my colleagues at Born Free, at Care for the Wild, at British Divers Marine Life Rescue, I hope they're here today, and many others, helped 3 of the last captive dolphins return to the wild over 20 years ago. I was privileged enough to travel with Rocky and Silver and Missy to the Turks and Caicos Islands, where the Into the Blue project was based, and after 6 months of rehabilitation, I saw them swim free. It was one of the highlights of my life, and I cannot tell you the challenges we faced. People saying that they would stop us getting the dolphins out of the tank. They'd stop us getting them to the truck. They'd break people's legs. They'd break people's arms. They would physically prevent us from taking those dolphins to a better life and to a life with a future. And they also said, you are depriving the children of Britain the opportunity to go and see dolphins in captivity. Be that on your conscience. I can tell you now, I did not get one single letter from one single child saying, you have deprived me of seeing dolphins in captivity. I got hundreds of letters from kids drawing pictures of dolphins in captivity and then dolphins swimming free. They got the message. However, it may be over here, but the battle is not won. I thought it was, and I was wrong. But the game is changing. The relentless efforts of so many anti-captivity champions, you know them, Rick O'Barry, Naomi Rose, the Garretts, Paul Spong, Helena, John Crow, Alan Knight, Ingrid Visser, Sam Bird, Courtney Vale, Jeffrey Venter, and many, many more. And I include you all in that. those people, you will not let the battle be lost. Now, my experience is simple. It takes time to bring about lasting change, but be assured of one thing, that change will come. It is inevitable. I think we'll look back at this time as a tipping point, a moment in history where people of compassion delivered a new vision of what our relationship with the natural world should be all about. I may not live to see it. It takes that long. But I have no doubt at all, that we can make this a better world for people and for non-human animals that share this tiny, spinning, used and abused planet of ours. And then the wonderful Audrey Hepburn. Simple, brilliant language. She said, as you grow older, you realize why you have two hands. One is to help yourself, and the other is to help others. Our hands here today are outstretched and ready to help the dolphins of Taiji and dolphins and all other abused wildlife around the world. And finally, there is a reason, another reason why you have two hands, and that is to give yourselves a round of applause. You deserve it for making the effort to turn out to show your fundamental opposition to the Taiji slaughter and the captive industry that pays for it. So put your hands together and thank yourselves, and let's send that message worldwide. Thank you. This is now the biggest campaign against this horrible slaughter in Japan anywhere in the world. Anywhere in the world. Every few months in this city, we are bringing hundreds, and in some cases thousands of people together who care desperately about this issue. And why? Why is it so important, this one small code in Japan? Well, let me tell you something about this one small code. It's not just about Japan, it's not just about Taiji. It's about our relationship with wildlife. It's about exploitation, it's about greed, and it's about cruelty. Taiji is one part of the world where animals are brutalized and slaughtered. Hundreds, thousands in some cases every year are killed. The value of a dead dolphin to a fisherman in Taiji Cove is about $400. This business would have stopped years ago if that was all that it was about. Dolphin meat is pretty disgusting stuff. It's got heavy metals in it. It's going to make you sick and ill. And to be fair, most of what is killed in Taiji Cove ends up as dog food or fertilizer. That's an absolute disgrace. But there is a darker side to this business. It's a business of pleasure, so we're told, for millions of people around the world. The marine aquarium business is worth billions of dollars in the United States alone, and tens of billions of dollars in developing countries like Saudi Arabia, Vietnam, Thailand, Turkey and other parts of the world. The only reason that Taiji goes on is because some of the dolphins that are taken out of that cove are worth nearly $250,000 to those businesses. And that is not acceptable in the modern, caring, compassionate world we live, that we take animals, we slaughter their families in front of their eyes, and then we transport them thousands of miles to live a horrible life, being exploited for our pleasure in a concrete prison. And I want to finish with a quote from the editor of Charlie Hebdo, who was killed last week. And he said 2 years ago, in response to people saying, are you worried about what you do when you speak your mind on human rights, animal rights and other issues? And he said, I'd rather die standing than live on my knees. I'd rather die standing than live on my